Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Theory of Racelessness YouTube channel. If you'd like to see more, make sure to like and subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon to get notified every time we post a new video. To get even more involved, feel free to leave us a comment down below and share your thoughts. We'd love to hear them. Now, enjoy the video.
Carlen, when you conceive of yourself in your younger years and today as raceless, and you've obviously had some confrontations with that, right? Like what George Middleton has called the first encounter through his field work. What do you come up against in terms of barriers and helping people not see race, either not see race as skin color or not see it as just skin color? Like, how do you help people see the complexity of it when you're trying to help them erase races?
Yeah, and that's no small endeavor. You understand? That's no, because I think that people like Dr. Mason and Adrian and people really who get this there almost has to be some defining event. And that's why I always say that I'm kind of an anomaly, I think. And I had to come to the point where I understood that I was an anomaly in that type of thought, because most people only come to that through some traumatic event where they have to begin to see that. But it's like I almost saw it. I was already there. And then I began to find out. I remember I was working on one of my master's degrees, and that's when I stumbled upon Ashley Montague's, Man's Most Dangerous Myth, the fallacy of race. Man, when I read that thing, I was like, this is what I've been saying, and I didn't have nearly the vocabulary for an anthropologist, so I couldn't really articulate it the way he did. But I saw through reading that's exactly what I had been living. And this is the point that I was trying to get across to everybody. And so the barriers are many, because either people are looking for you to battle them intellectually, and you have to do that. And that's why I was so pleased to meet Adrian and Dr. Mason, because I was like, I'm not the intellectual heavyweight to be carrying this thing around, but I met those guys and I went, oh, now I got some ammunition for this gun. So that's the ammunition now that I've got when I go out. I don't have to just go out and say, look, you guys are crazy because you believe in race. Now I've got some background, some backup. So, but that's what it is. And it was that challenging. So my answer to answer your question, Sheena, is that I decided that there's one thing that can overcome all the hate that's out there, all the conflations with race and everything. And that's one of the other things about how race gets conflated with everything. I said, I think it was intentionally designed that way. It only has one purpose: to create the divisions and the hate. And that's why Adolf Hitler can use race. We can have our skin color race over here. They can have race in Yugoslavia. And so that caused the Balkan Wars, where people of the same color were killing each other. Rwanda, the same color. All these things can be race, because race can shapeshift like that, because it's just going to be convenient for whatever I need to divide people. That's what race does. And so realizing all those things, then my whole attack was to say, I know one thing that overcomes it all, and that is genuine relationships. And so that's what we do in Erase Races, and that's what we do. And sometimes I get into these discussions on Facebook, and they seem somewhat heated, but it's always to the point of trying to get a relationship and an understanding so that we can begin communicating on another level. And if we do that, and I then understand who you are, you understand who I am, then I think those artificial things such as race they begin to disappear. And so that's it. But now that I've got that angle, but I'm counting on people like Dr. Mason and Adrian. Like I said, you're my ammo for the gun in case the other things don't work.
I'm laughing at the metaphors that we will undoubtedly use throughout our conversation today.
We got to.
It's so good. Adrian, I want to ask you about an aspect of what Carlen just said. So, well, earlier in one of his responses, he spoke essentially of this thing called Black culture. So I want to talk about it. What is Black culture to you? And because I don't want to ask a leading question, I'll just leave it there. What is Black culture to you?
Well, Sheena, it's a leading question by itself. But it's a necessary question this is a question that I posed to a good friend of mine who is a successful business owner. I was sitting in their business about a year and a half ago, and I asked that question to them. And then I asked the subsequent question of what is white culture. Now, I won't belabor you as to their very detailed response to the question about Black culture. But when I asked the question about, well, okay, what is white culture? They said, blah. And I said, wait, how is there no parallel? And it was interesting to witness how people, mentally blank when asked a question like that. And so, but before I answer what is Black culture, I do want to, just touch on something that Carlen was talking about with, in regards to being the ammunition to his proverbial gun, and how race has been used in various parts of society throughout various spans of time. I think it's important to understand that race, grouping people together on the hinges of various factors, has existed since nearly the beginning of human history. And what I refer to as phenotypic race is relatively new, as we all know. Most people have a general understanding of that, but not everyone understands that. But phenotypical race, or classifying people based off of physical appearances, is just a few centuries old. But nonetheless, the grouping of humans will always occur on some hinge, and it has, and it will always. And there is no undoing that. That is a natural element of humans in the way that our minds work. Though this aspect of grouping people based on physical appearance, the studies show that this is something that is actually fading, especially in the Western world, as more people not only ask the questions that we're asking right now, but more importantly, or more poignantly rather, that there are people who are having relationships and having children from what was previously considered different groups, and are now having children who do not neatly, cleanly align with those pre-positioned groups from 100 years ago. And so as that increase more and more, fewer people will hold to this phenotypic classification, because the lines will get increasingly more blurry. To then get to Black culture, what you first have to define Blackness, which you and I know that this is a very arbitrary, very ambiguous classification, though not to be disrespectful for those who identify or view themselves as Black, or those who see themselves as living a Black culture. And so I will express how others have said this. A lot of people that you will ask, what is Black culture? They will describe vibrant dance styles, music that is loud and eccentric, hairstyles that are, heavy and curly, and fashion that is very tasteful, and food that is filled with flavor, and worship styles that is exciting and jumping. You have all of this, character embedded into what people will say is Black culture. And then the question I ask is, can anyone who participates in this way of life, this way of being, are they then Black? So if a person with pale ivory skin, blonde hair, and blue eyes plays the saxophone, does that person then become Black because they are now adhering to what you or someone would describe as Black culture? And this creates a conundrum, because it's believed that Black culture must be either owned, created, or constrained to those who are classified as Black. And so by then asking this question, what is Black culture, it cannot even be entertained without asking, what is Black? Which brings back to the original question that I have posed all across the country of, what does it mean to be Black or white? And this seems like a rhetorical question, but it is a thought-provoking and a probing one, to get people to analyze within themselves, how did they come to conclude that there is such a thing, when it is indeed so arbitrary and parameterless?
That brings up some interesting points, because I see a lot of people holding the position that Black is, even if they concede, okay, it's not racial, they'll say that Black speaks of ethnicity, right? And it speaks of culture. It speaks specifically of racialized Black Americans whose history, ethnicities, nationalities, all of those things were essentially stripped away from them because of chattel slavery. And so Black is the placeholder for that which is lost, sort of like Malcolm X puts X to signify that which was lost in his family. And so then the culture that people call Black culture is supposed to be derived from either formerly enslaved people or ancestors of enslaved people. These are the types of arguments that come behind, answers to that question of what is Black culture. But what I think also gets cast as Black culture, you focused on all of the arguably positive things that a person could say, this is Black culture, right? And when a person speaks from a place of pride and self-love, it's usually going to be that stuff that you named, right? But then there's the aspect that gets assigned a Black culture of ghetto, of poor, of violent, of criminal, of hypersexual, of promiscuous, of not valuing conservative values and wanting to have children out of wedlock and not get married and all that other stuff, of strip clubs and big rims and like literally every essentialized stereotypical of not valuing education, of speaking what's called African American vernacular English, formerly Ebonics, formerly Black English, right? So of not even speaking what's called the standard American English. All of those things get attributed also to Black culture, which is one way in which I talk about racism hiding its face with the signifier of race, Black, in that, right? But there's also the fact that there's something about the idea that what was lost because of chattel slavery and the culture that derives or sprung out of that initial violent contact and all of that then gets cast as Black. But then people want to say it's speaking about a specific Blackness. But really, I think in America, people are deceiving themselves because they view Black as being just African, right? If you come from the continent of Africa in some way, which all of humanity does, but that's neither here nor there, how Americans tend to look at it, phenotype, right, ancestry, who your parents are, you're automatically classified as Black. So the argument that, to say Black is just to speak of a particular group of Americans, I think is misleading and unconvincing. Add to that the fact that people who are racialized as Black participate in culture as most human beings do, which is in very complex ways, so that, jazz might be for you, but it might not be for me, right? But I'm still going to be looked at as Black, and I'm still going to be actually expected to love jazz, presumably because I'm Black. So we got all kinds of parameters. I'm talking white if I speak standard English as I do, right? So all of the ways in which the thing that's supposed to be ambiguous and expansive and inclusive is actually self-limiting and constraining and really ironic and paradoxical ways, never mind the fact that it continues the hyper focus, I think, on the loss that chattel slavery brought to many people, but certainly not all people who are racialized as Black and American, right? Because not every one of those people are descendants of enslaved people. So there's no, are y'all picking up what I'm putting down?
Yeah, I think so.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to support our channel and keep the conversation going. For more Theory of Racelessness, you can follow us on Twitter at Racelessness or use the link in the description box down below. We hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, there is still so much more to come. Until then, thank you so much from the Theory of Racelessness. Have a great day.